Does Jesus give us the mandate to enhance? I don't think Jesus does give us the mandate to enhance. And I say this for two reasons. One, I think the human species has been given the set of characteristics with which we can work. And working with the characteristics we already have enables us to live a very full life. And the mandate to heal then would say that those who are not able to live that full life, we should try to enable them to do so. So those who are disabled, those who are unwell, we try to care for them and look after them, bring them up to standard. But the mandate to heal doesn't seem to me to give us the right to go and say, I'm going to take a small group of humans and make them superior to everybody else by giving them enhanced cognitive ability or enhanced physical ability just because I want to. That seems again to be an example of scientist arrogance. I can do it, therefore I will. And it will certainly result, this enhancement, in a very small number of people being able to buy into it. And if some of the wishes of the transhumanists are in fact fulfilled, there will be people with very, very enhanced capabilities living as a kind of superclass. So that to me seems to be a gross misuse of the creative abilities that God has given us, and Jesus' mandate to love our neighbour as ourselves.
Let me say that we are quite comfortable in other settings with enhancements that we not only approve of, we actually disapprove of parents who don't use them. Things like vaccinations. You are enhancing your immune system to be vaccinated against a terrible virus. Things like piano lessons. You're trying to enhance somebody's functioning in the musical arena. In a more silly way, hair coloring is an enhancement of sorts, I suppose. What we ought to do with enhancements, it seems to me, is to focus in that area of opportunities which are both realistic and cross the line into territory which we as a society are generally uncomfortable with. And there aren't too many of those right now that are in the realm of possibility. Certainly, the idea of using pre-implantation genetic diagnosis, a way of sorting embryos to decide which ones to put back, if it's applied to something like gender, that seems like an enhancement, at least in the minds of the parents who want a particular gender, that makes us all squeamish. It makes me squeamish. Sex selection is not a medical procedure. Sex is not a disease. Sex is a trait. Other things come to mind, such as the use of enhancements for athletic purposes, the idea of trying to instill a gene in somebody's musculature that will cause them to run faster or lift a higher degree of weights. Those things in other means we basically decry in athletics, and if it was done with genetics, we would decry it there as well. What about obesity? This is an interesting idea. If we could identify a means using genetics to give those who are struggling with overweight the chance to melt away those pounds without having to go through the struggles that they now do, would that be acceptable? I think most people would say for the morbidly obese who are facing terrible health consequences, well, yeah, this sounds like you're treating a disease. But would it be acceptable to give people of normal weight in order to allow them to be really svelte just because they wanted to? That doesn't seem quite the same. I guess the point I'm making is there is no bright line here between acceptable and unacceptable forms of enhancement in most of our eyes. And we are doing enhancements of the acceptable sort already and figuring out exactly in a given situation of where to say, no, that's going too far, is not going to be trivial. And it's going to take a lot of involvement by a lot of committed people, not just scientists, to try to decide what's an appropriate place to draw the line.
Every access of major scientific knowledge which leads to new powers of intervention in nature is a sort of fall upwards, so to speak. And science gives us knowledge, technology gives us power. We have to add to that the gift of wisdom to discern and accept the right, to discern and refuse the bad. And that's where we need to work away all the time. And we need to think about these issues before the technology is on the shelf, because once it's on the shelf, it's very, very hard to take it off again.